Hip confession time today. My life is absolutely falling apart now that I've left church. I've never been more miserable, more lonely, more lost. I just have this overwhelming feeling of darkness that haunts every waking moment of my life. That's actually hard to even say because it's so not true, so completely, utterly false. But that's exactly what the church people want you to think about me as a post religious person. And that's what I, as a religious person, used to think about apostates like myself. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take Two, where I share my escape from Mormon tradwife life. I spent 44 years in the Mormon church, born and raised, super Orthodox, deeply indoctrinated, huge Mormon family. And I 100% believed everything that the Mormon gospel taught me. A week after I stopped believing in everything the Mormon gospel had taught me and lost my faith in Mormonism, I would convert right away to Christianity, diving deep into a personal, meaningful relationship with Jesus. That lasted 4.5 years. 2 years ago, I broke up with Jesus, and now I'm atheist. Today, I want to share with you one of the most ironic things about having a faith crisis and leaving religion. I spent 48.5 years of my life believing that my religion is what made me happy. I remember as like a 12, 13, 14-year-old young woman in the Mormon church on open mic Sunday, which is the first Sunday of every month, fast and testimony meeting, standing at that pulpit, picturing my evil non-member friends and bearing my testimony at that microphone, just saying, I'm so thankful that Heavenly Father blessed me to be born into a Mormon family so that I could have the gifts of the gospel in my life, because I know that this gospel is why I'm happy. And it just breaks my heart to think of all of my friends who don't have the church. And I'm trying every day to be that light shining for them so that they can come to the church too and get baptized and be happy. Every cell in my little blonde body believed that it was my membership in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and all of the blessings that Heavenly Father gave me as a result. And then after I left that church, I believed that it was the grace of Jesus and his dying on the cross that was causing any little bit of happiness that I ever had in my life. And I would look at people who didn't have that and just be horrified for them. Like, oh my God, that must be so miserable to not have Jesus. I was genuinely terrified for all the non-members and non-believers and genuinely didn't know how they cope. Then I became one of them. Here I am, non-believing and non-belonging. And frankly, I'm stunned by how genuinely happy my life is in ways that it never was before. And there are days that it's kind of ironic because my life is worse. If you look at it on paper, I have less money, less friends, less community, less of everything because all of the Mormons and Christians just they've ghosted me. They're all gone. I do videos on that, the letter from my mom telling me goodbye. But despite the fact that it looks on the surface like a little bit of a challenging life, I am truly happier every moment of every day than I have ever been before. For those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that I've had like 7 surgeries in 3 years. This year, I was in the hospital, 7 different times? I had 4 different surgeries. And even laying in a hospital bed, dripping a puddle of blood onto the floor, thinking that I was going to die, feeling terrible, with an abdominal scar from my surgeon to the top of my pelvic bone, staples all over the place, and just really a pretty crap life. I remember thinking how I still felt happier laying in that hospital bed than I had ever truly been sitting in a Mormon church or doing churchy things just in my everyday life. To dive a little bit deeper into why I think this is, I'm going to take you on a field trip of a beautiful hike that we did this afternoon. Today, we're going to be hiking Sabino Canyon in Tucson, Arizona, because I know there's a big cluster of trees in the middle of the arroyo that get a little bit of fall color when it gets cold. So I'm hoping to get a little taste of fall, even though it's actually the week after Christmas here. And by the way, this ledge was not dangerous. It does look like it in the video. I spent 44 years of my life in the Mormon church, which is 2,288 Sundays, and then another 4.5 years in the Christian church. So for most of my life, I've either been in church or been at home doing churchy stuff because I just had a baby or was sick or something. And it always seemed kind of ironic to me that we had these scriptures around the Sabbath day being a day of rest and keeping it holy as that day that you don't work or do anything, while also at the same time being forced by my church to do tons of stuff on Sundays that I did not want to do, and which left me feeling so exhausted that Monday always hit me like a bag of bricks. Let me share a little story with you just as an example. The day before my very first baby was supposed to be born, and we knew he was going to be born that day because I was scheduled for an induction. I was 10 days overdue. My Mormon bishopric called me and asked if they could come see me at my home. I really didn't want them coming over because I was busy packing my little suitcase and my mom was flying into town and I was tired and had a lot of stuff to do. But I said yes anyway. And half an hour later, 3 guys from my ward in shirts and ties showed up at my doorstep and we sat down in our living room and they called me to be the first counselor in the new Young Women's Presidency. You guys, I was 22 years old. I was having my first baby. I told them I'm not even planning to go to church for like the next 3 or 4 months. It was RSV season. Lots of babies were getting sick. I said, I'm not going to be in church and I certainly can't run the Young Women. We had a huge Young Women's in our Gilbert, Arizona ward. And I knew it was going to be a lot of work because I had been in the presidency a couple of years before. So I told them no. I said, I can't do it. And I don't remember what they did to talk me into it, but they sat on my couch and read me scriptures and asked me to pray. And I ended up getting bullied into it. And I had my baby the next day on Monday, my very first son. And the next Sunday, I was in church. I remember nursing that baby while teaching young women's lessons with a blanket over my shoulder, and just the overwhelm that I felt preparing lessons and running the Young Women's program, which included girls' camp and Wednesday night activities and all kinds of firesides and dances and different things that I had to be at, that took me away from my very first baby. And that is time that I will never get back. And as I look back now, I can barely remember my kids on Sundays. Like, I remember getting them ready for church and finding all of their little shoes and dresses and things. But I don't have a lot of memories of just sitting down with my children and spending quality time with them. Church sucked the life out of my family, and it kept me from spending moments like this with the people that I love the most. And I don't know if I hadn't had that church life to begin with, if I would appreciate the sheer, raw, unadulterated joy of going on a sunset hike with these 2 guys that I love so much. I don't know if I would even appreciate the feelings of relaxation and connectedness to nature and my family that I have driving home tonight. My life and relationships are 1,000 times happier without church. And now for my favorite part of YouTube. I would love to hear from you. Have you had a faith transition? And if so, are you happier on the other side? Or do you wish you could shut Pandora's box and go back to a time when you still had your faith? Thanks for watching.